Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. We're just going to give everyone a moment to connect to webinar. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming today. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stony Brook University Undergraduate Admissions Virtual Session. I'm Amanda Mills, Assistant Director of Admissions. For those of you who are joining us and have been accepted, a huge congratulations to you, to hopefully our future Seawolves. Just to put in perspective how impressive your acceptance is this year, we've received a record 50,000 applications for first-year admission, and we expect a class of about 3,500. So truly congratulations on being, in that group. In a moment, our speakers will introduce themselves and give you important information on the topic, alternative pathways to health professions. We're going to save time for questions, so please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen to submit them. You can also upvote questions using the Q&A. Today's presentation is being recorded and will be available later this week on the admissions YouTube page. Now, please join me in welcoming our special guest, Dr. Maria Nagin, Professor of Practice in the Department of Chemistry and Associate Dean for Curriculum in the College of Arts and Sciences, along with our panel of current undergraduate students.
Hi, everybody. So thank you for joining us. I'm the Associate Dean in the College of Arts and Sciences for Curriculum, and I also teach chemistry. I teach general chemistry, so if you come, you'll have me. Today, I'm joined by 3 undergraduate majors who are going to introduce themselves, and you can ask them questions. Quite honestly, they know the nitty-gritty of how to do and be an undergraduate at Stony Brook. And what I'm going to do is have them introduce themselves, and then I'll kind of give you an introduction to what it's like to be a pre-health student and what majors besides biology and the traditional psychology that you can be. And then we'll have hopefully the last half of our webinar dedicated to answering your questions from a student perspective. So students, go ahead.
Hello, I'll go first. My name is Jessica. I am in my 4th year here. I am double majoring in EBH and sociology. I have minors in health medicine society and anthropology. I'm on the pre-med track, as I'm sure some of you also would like to be. I am from Pennsylvania, specifically Western Pennsylvania. And that's it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Simran Multani. I am a chemistry major and I'm currently a senior at Stony Brook. I'm a pre-med student as well, and I'm hailing from the very small Caribbean island of Antigua and Barbuda.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ujala. I'm a junior here at Stony Brook. I'm a major in globalization studies and international relations and biology. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I also have a minor in health medicine and society. And I'm from Long Island.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I thought I would give you an introduction to the pre-health professions. There are lots of pre-health professions. There's the classic medical doctor, which includes DO and MD. There's also dentistry. There's actually a lot of students interested in dentistry, podiatry, physician's assistant. I never know if I should put the apostrophe S on there or not. But it's a graduate degree, and you get to do a lot of the same things that a medical doctor does. Pharmacy, ophthalmology, and honestly, public health, which is a growing area considering our recent pandemic. And if you want more information, we have an entire advising website here at the bottom, the stonybrook.edu/prehealth. And a lot of the issues that I'm going to address today are there. You just won't have us to answer your questions. So you as a pre-health student will want to do your classes, right? You're coming to college to do classes, and you'll have a certain number of prerequisite courses. For pre-health, there isn't a specific major that you need to be, but you will want to take all of the prerequisite courses. Those are things like English, calculus, chemistry, right, with me, organic, some biology courses, probably biochemistry, and some sociology or psychology. So for every pre-health area, there's a little bit different tweak. Like for instance, for physician's assistant, you're going to want microbiology, et cetera. And we have an entire handbook on which courses you need. And of course, you need good grades, right? You need to demonstrate that you can do science. These are, in the end, science careers. And so you need to demonstrate that you can do well in science courses. More and more, though, I would say that if you had a 4.0 GPA and you had done all your prerequisite courses, you would still not be admitted to medical school, for instance. And part of the reason is because it's that other part of the pie that's really important. So I have here research, leadership, volunteering, and shadowing. And it's those areas that actually you're going to be primarily evaluated on. It's like a weird system where you have to get to a certain level with your courses and your grades. And then after that, it's a whole bunch of other things that heavily weigh into the decision for admission. So at Stony Brook, we are a research institution. We cover a lot of different areas. That's what's like really cool, quite honestly, about being at Stony Brook, is that we have all these different areas. We have Brookhaven National Labs, which is a national lab, and Stony Brook is specifically associated with it. But we also have the School of Medicine right across the street. We have opportunities to go to Kenya with the Turkana Basin Institute. We have the School of Welfare. Do you see what I'm saying? We have business, we have journalism, and all of these areas intersect with these areas on the left. You know, these are our main areas of expertise, and you have all these scholars to draw on. At Stony Brook, because we're a research institution, you also have opportunities to conduct cutting edge research. And so I have shown here some of the students. These are all undergraduates carrying out research in our labs. We have a number of opportunities. We have the Eureka office, which funds scholarships for students. We have a Valet Women in Science program that I oversee. We have a Simon STEM fellowship. We have the Explorations in STEM program, lots of different opportunities. You can do it for credit, you can do it for pay, you can do it for volunteer, you can switch labs. There's just a lot of opportunities. Some of the majors, right? So we have talked about alternative pathways. So people sometimes come in and say, well, I need to be a biology student. But there are actually two different majors at Stony Brook for biology. There's the biology BS, which is sort of the traditional biology BS and what traditionally I think pre-med students have been. But honestly, these days, to stand out, you need to be able to do something else. So we have a biology BA program, and the advantage of the biology BA program is that you take the foundation in the biology areas, but you also do a minor, and that minor can be in any area in the College of Arts and Sciences. So you could be gender and women's studies, you could be globalization, you could be French, you could have a minor in philosophy or political science, like basically whatever interests you. It's a chance for you to delve into an area that's outside of your major. And honestly, this is one of the few times in your life when you'll have this opportunity. One of the other advantages of the biology BA is that it has fewer lab courses. So the courses that you need for pre-health are like introductory biology and the biology 204, 205, and 207 at Stony Brook, but you don't need necessarily like in-depth biology lab courses. You need the basics But you need good grades in all of those lecture courses, really. We also have, and I'm sure Jessica can talk about it, we have a human evolutionary biology course. And so if you're more interested in anatomy, this might actually be up your alley. It's some students, when they go into, say, biology, they're like, wait a minute, I don't care about plants. Like, really? And so you can do something like the human evolutionary biology degree and really only care about humans. That's really okay if you're one of those majors. We also have Ujala is a global studies and international relations major. This is a new major at Stony Brook. And she can talk more about this, but it's really a cross section of politics, economics, environmental topics. And then it also brings together languages. Some of you natively speak a different language besides English. And in GLI, you need to have probably 2 languages in addition to English. But it's an opportunity for you to broaden your horizons. I have students who are interested in humanitarian work. And so this is a really good fit for them because you can incorporate a study abroad, you can incorporate the global medical brigades, you can, anyways, you have a lot of opportunity to be more broad than just Long Island and Stony Brook. And then we also, now, if you really we have all these students who are really interested in pre-health professions, but they just have a lot of interests, right? So one of our really cool new majors is media, art, and culture. And if you like digital design, if you like analyzing films, if you like photography, this major is probably for you. And you could do this major and then do your prerequisites for pre-health and put it all together. You could even do something, it would be really cool. Sorry, I'm just off the cuff thinking here. You could do media, art, and culture and then do the media, art, and culture of COVID, for instance, or public health and how that affected disseminating public health information. I'm just saying there's a lot of opportunity there. Okay, and I'm talking super fast, but that's because we want to get to the good stuff, which is the students. We have a lot, honestly, we're a STEM school. People tell me we're a STEM school. We have a lot of STEM that we offer, but we offer a lot of help also. You are probably at the top of your class. I am told all the time that Stony Brook is really hard to get into, okay? And I don't doubt that you are the smartest person on the earth, that you want to come to Stony Brook and you want to take advantage of all the opportunities we have. But quite honestly, you're going to hit a little bump and that's okay. But when you do, we have free help, free tutoring for hundreds and hundreds of people. So biology, chemistry, languages, math, writing. Honestly, when you go write your personal statement, you're going to want to bring it to the Writing Center. They don't just specialize in English courses. They specialize in fellowship applications, personal statements, getting across your ideas. And so we have all of this available free of cost that you can just literally drop in there. Because we're such a big university, we have so many students. And so we offer these services round the clock, Sunday through Saturday in the evenings. Okay, so with that, I will say, here, I'll go back to my original. That is the basics of being pre-health at Stony Brook. And we now have time for questions.
Okay, so we see a couple questions coming in, which is great. Everyone, our audience, are more than welcome to use the Q&A to add questions. We had a question about, I guess their question ultimately is, how does pre-med advising work? We don't have a program that you join in the traditional sense, and so they want a little more information about I guess how you kind of declare your interest. Anybody?
Okay. I guess because I'm the associate dean for curriculum, I'll answer that one. There's a form you can fill out that says, hey, I'm pre-health. You can also just go to the pre-health advising website that we put up, and you literally just click on a thing that says, I'd like to meet with a pre-health advisor. And the hours are listed, and you just make an appointment. And you say, hey, I'd like to get more information.
Great. We had a question about someone who's interested in being a nursing major or pre-nursing, but also potentially on the pre-med track. Anyone thoughts on that and how that might kind of align or not?
So I did
I'd like to
person-
say something on.
I'll let you go
Okay,
first.
go ahead,
Samantha.
Jessica.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay, cool. So I did post a response to this, but I will say, as someone who works with the hospital, I work with a lot of nurses, and every once in a while you do meet a nurse who decides to pursue becoming a physician on top of their nursing education. It's not very like usual, like not a ton of nurses do it, but like it's very possible because you do have that health experience already. So coming in as like a nurse, you do have an advantage. Same with like a nursing major, you get all those skills already compared to like biology major where like the curriculum is totally different.
I was just gonna say, because I do have a lot of friends who actually went through the nursing process at Stony Brook. And typically you'll have to apply to the Stony Brook Nursing School first if that's what you wanted to do. And they usually have like separate applications where you could apply still as an undergrad, or you could apply after you obtain your bachelor's. And they let you do whatever like undergraduate major you want. Also, you just have to fulfill the certain nursing prerequisites. And that's outlined on the School of Nursing website. But as far as transitioning from nursing to medical school, that's like a non-traditional path. And people who do that would typically go to nursing school and then take all of the other prerequisites like the MCATs and so forth before they go to medical school.
Thank you. We had a question specifically about, and we hear this a lot, the best major to become a physician assistant. Anyone want to take that?
Well, I mean, honestly, the best major for whether or not you want to be a PA or you want to go to med school, whatever you're looking for, is one that you're interested in and that you can do well. There really is, I know it's kind of like unsatisfying to say that there is no best major, there is no answer, that you're looking for, but the reality is that you're going to excel in subjects that you enjoy. And if you major in something like biology just because you feel like you have to, and you kind of like carry, I guess, like that burden of doing something you're not passionate about for like 4 years, it's really going to burn you out, and you're not going to be happy with, I guess, your college experience. So you really just do something that you care about, that kind of makes you a better person, that makes you excited, and you feel like you can do this for 4 years.
That's great. Yeah, that's really good advice. So we have a question about if you're not 100% sure if you want to quote unquote declare pre-med, and if you apply undecided, is it difficult to do that later in the process once you figure out what major you want? And I think we've kind of answered this in that because there is no preferred major and you can major in anything, you can come in undecided, take a variety of courses your freshman year, pick a major, and be pre-med at the same time, or add pre-med later and start taking the pre-med courses as you figure out what your declared major will be. And I know we had a question that was pre-submitted about double majoring, and I think it was Jessica a double major?
Ugula, right?
Ugula, you're
Yeah,
a
I'm
double.
a double major too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So can you both kind of talk about what that process was like, and if like which major you came in as and how you then figured out that you wanted to add a second major?
Yeah, so for me, I came in as a biochem major just because I liked biology. I loved chemistry in high school. And then I quickly switched to biology just because, like, specifically, I didn't want to take extra math. That was like my decision. I know other students that kind of switched to biology as well for those kinds of reasons. And then I believe it was sophomore year, I ended up switching to EBH. I looked at the requirements. I thought some of the classes were more within my interest compared to like the biology degree. And then sociology, I just actually declared that last year. And the reason for that is because I really, really liked my sociology classes and I wanted to take more. And in order to take more, really, it made sense to just double major at that point. But you don't have to do that. That's just something that I chose to do.
So I actually came into Stony Brook as a GLI major, which is just short for Globalization Studies and International Relations, because who wants to say that every time? So when I first came to Stony Brook, I wasn't really entirely sure what I wanted to do. In fact, I had never even taken like a proper like bio class. I never took AP bio in high school because I just hated the idea of biology. I took art classes instead. But I kind of started leaning a little bit towards it because I was interested in the idea of like public health and global health. So I took a bio class to think about maybe I want to do the prerequisites for being pre-med, and I actually really enjoyed it, to my surprise. So I added a biology major on top of my globalization studies major sophomore year. And to be honest, I really enjoy being like a double major and having two, I guess, very different perspectives. Because I don't know, in my opinion, I feel like medicine is a lot more intersectional than we kind of tend to realize. And that if you solely stick to biology all the time, that you are really going to miss out on some really important perspectives when it comes to what it means to be healthy, you know, what medicine really is. So I always encourage people to, even if you're not going to double major in like a humanities or anything like that, you don't have to. I say definitely look into it because there are some really interesting things out there. But no matter what you do, always explore what there is on the other side to get a better understanding of what it means to be a part of healthcare.
That's great. Thank you. We had a question about, are there study abroad programs specifically for biology students, but really just in general, if anyone can talk about study abroad or study away and how that might work as an undergrad.
So personally, I haven't gotten the chance to study abroad yet. I do want to. But study abroad programs, like, you don't have to be a specific major in order to study abroad. You kind of just look at like the time frames and I guess where you want to go and what you're interested in. It's study abroad can be very, I guess, diverse. So you really have to look into specific programs, which you can easily find on like the Stony Brook website. But it's a potential, it's possible for any and every major. And, you know, of course, everyone, if you can and you're interested, should try to do it.
Thank you. We have a question about if there are courses or opportunities to become a dietitian or a nutritionist at Stony Brook. Does anyone have any information about that?
Typically, those classes would be within the bio major. I know there's a new course that's called Animal Nutrition. I think it's Bio 369, I think it might be. Other than that, I'm not really sure of any like specific nutrition courses.
Yeah, I would recommend the Stony Brook Bulletin has every course. You can look at literally up every course that's offered at Stony Brook and every kind of type of course. We don't have an undergraduate major that's specific to becoming a dietitian or a nutritionist. Anecdotally, we have a nutritionist on campus who's available to meet with students, but at the undergraduate level, that wouldn't be an option. So if you found maybe a graduate program somewhere, you could still come to Stony Brook, take prerequisites, earn your bachelor's degree, and then maybe, you know, apply to graduate school for one of those programs. Let's see, we have questions about what specific volunteer and shadowing opportunities have our panelists been a part of while you were at Stony Brook?
So I will speak on shadowing real quick because I know as a fourth year student, many students ask me about this. But I know as someone who works at the hospital and I've asked the physician there is that right now they're really only taking students from very specific programs. I think it's, I forget what the name of it's called, but you actually have to apply to this program where you can shadow a physician. I don't know how competitive it is. I know there's an application, but yeah, shadowing is very difficult right now just because of everything with COVID. They still have strict requirements and everything, and they really want to limit how many students are interacting with patients, which makes sense. So I definitely recommend trying to go off campus for shadowing right now because outpatient offices might be more lenient about who's allowed to shadow. For volunteering, I volunteered at the food pantry. I volunteered back at home a little bit. Right now I work at the hospital and that's kind of my main thing that I do. If anyone else wants to add anything.
I'll add something. So I've actually shadowed several doctors at Stony Brook Medicine. Right now I'm currently shadowing 2 doctors there. And one of the ways that I did this or I achieved this was through the PACE program, which is the pre-medical access to the clinical experience program. And it's available to all undergrad students to apply. And once you meet the eligibility requirements, you're able to join. And the director of the program typically will match you with a physician of that's aligning with your interests, and you're able to work out a schedule with them and be able to shadow them. I also shadow another physician, which was through my own merit. I actually just emailed her and she was willing to take me on, and I was already registered with the volunteers office, so I was able to shadow her. I also was able to shadow some physicians through USEP program, which is a program that's offered through the Stony Brook Medical School, and it's hosted by the medical students themselves. And you're able to volunteer at the Stony Brook Home Clinic, and gain volunteer and shadowing experiences through that as well.
I can add on a little bit too. Okay, so personally, I haven't shadowed and volunteered as much as I feel like I want to have by the time I apply to med school. Because that is also part of the reality of being a pre-health student. There's so much that you have to do and you can't do everything at once. So you have to kind of pace yourself. So that is one thing that I'm still working on. But I haven't shadowed specifically, but I am working as a medical scribe. I worked at a couple of different specialties, gynecology, urology, and internal medicine. So that's actually very interesting. It is very similar to shadowing, except when you're working as a scribe, you're actually working on the patient charts. And honestly, it has been a very valuable experience because you get to really see what it's like to be a doctor, to kind of work alongside a doctor to see what I guess their life is like as a physician, because not only do you get to learn a lot of medical terminology about the diagnostic process, but you also kind of get to idea of, is this something that I could do in the future? So I would recommend looking into scribing alongside shadowing if you guys haven't heard about that before. And for volunteering, I'm currently tutoring a student in high school at it's not through Stony Brook, but it's through a library near here. There was something else I was gonna say. Just a quick side note, guys. Sorry to go on a rant, but when it comes to volunteering, I just wanted to let you guys know that don't just strive to achieve a certain number of volunteering hours. Actually try to do things that you're interested in. At first I started volunteering at a local hospital because I'm a commuter by where I live, and I stopped doing that because I wasn't very interested. I wasn't connected with what I was doing. So I felt like I needed to find something better with my time and something that I'm more interested in. And so I looked into tutoring a student instead, which I like a lot more because you have that personal connection with someone. maybe I'm not directly in a hospital, but I feel like, sorry, Stony Brook Bells, I feel like, the experience I'm getting is so much more important because it's not just about fulfilling like a certain number of hours. Of course, you do need to volunteer, no doubt, but you also want to make sure that what you're doing is genuine to who you are and what you're interested in.
To
That
add real
is
quick to
excellent advice. Yes. Go ahead,
to add real
Jessica.
quick to what Ujala said about clinical experience, I work at the hospital as a nursing assistant, and I will say that I really interact a lot with like nurses, patients, doctors, probably more so than I would shadowing. Like I'm actually allowed to take care of patients and converse with them. So I think even if you can't get shadowing opportunities, even getting clinical experience, like working at the hospital or as a medical scribe or an EMT is very helpful.
I
We-
agree. And just a short promotion. So I'm currently the treasurer of Stony Brook English Pals, which is a club that's actually dedicated to volunteering. So we have a very large international student population at Stony Brook. So this club allows you to be matched with an international student. And it's very helpful, especially if you speak another language other than English, and you're able to volunteer and work with them to help them improve their English speaking skills. So if that's something that you all are interested in, you could Google Stony Brook English Pals and you could find us on Instagram and Facebook and so forth.
That's excellent. We had a question about how Stony Brook or in general, how you're preparing for medical school entrance exams. Anyone want to tackle that one?
Can you repeat the question real quick?
It's basically like, how does Stony Brook or how do you prepare for medical school entrance exams? The
Ooh,
MCAT?
that's a good question. I know with the MCAT, it's not really like people say, oh, I want to study for 3 months and then take it. Really, when you take the MCAT, you're studying your whole 4 years of undergrad. Like other classes, you're taking chemistry, biology, psychology. You're not really like, oh, just studying for that 2 months. It's like the whole 4 years. We do have a lot of resources on campus. I know some students take classes, like specifically for MCAT studying, but many students also use the books or Khan Academy is a good one. For me, I kind of do a little bit of everything. I use like Jack Weston. I know people use Blueprint. Pretty much like anything you can find, there are free resources if you can't afford some of the options, like the classes that can be really expensive. There are resources out there where you can study, potentially do well and not have to like spend like $1,000. I know that's a concern for a lot of people. So.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Ujala.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say personally, I am a junior. I know some people start maybe even taking the MCAT at this point, but personally, I am gonna be taking a gap year, and I'm gonna be taking the MCAT after I graduate, which is also an option if students are into that. Because personally, like I did mention before, I didn't know I wanted to be pre-med when I first started. So because of that, I was like a year behind on like chemistry. So because of that, it's gonna be pretty difficult for me to try to squeeze in a whole MCAT because, like Jessica said, it is 4 years of knowledge. So basically what I do want to mention is that don't like BS your way through classes. That'll get you a long way, use the language, but actually do the work in your classes, actually learn the material. And of course, you're not going to remember everything by the time you get to the MCAT. But if you try to do well in your classes now, it'll help you out definitely in the future for the MCAT.
And I say I've mentored 20 years of students who are pre-health. And I should say that what Jessica said about it being the whole 4 years, it's not that they're going to ask you what the pH of something is. It's that they're going to ask you this, they're going to say, here's a picture you've never seen before. Here's a process you've never heard of before. And now tell me how it works and how you're going to design an answer, like a drug molecule, or how you're going to figure out the mechanism of how this works, or how you're going to tell what the cell flow is. you know, it's these holistic, comprehensive issues. And so it's about your knowledge, but it's also about you putting it all together. And I think that's why those other things that I mentioned at the beginning, I don't know if you remember, but at the very beginning of my talk, I talked about leadership, research, volunteering, and shadowing. And it's because those opportunities put it all together for you. And so you're going to have to study for the MCAT, but it's also about being like taking all your classroom work and putting it into practice.
Excellent. We have a question from one of our guests. How often do students take part in research opportunities? And I will say I've seen different statistics about this, at the university over the years. But it really varies by major and department, but there are lots of opportunities and not everyone wants to do research. So you kind of have to take that into consideration as well when you think about, Stony Brook has 18,000 undergraduate students, and how often are students doing research? It's really more about, are you as an individual, is that something you want to pursue? And will you take advantage of resources like Eureka, the Undergraduate Research and Creativities Office? Will you, look at what faculty in your departments are, look at their profiles and reach out to them if they're doing research that you're interested in? Do any of our panelists want to add anything about research at Stony Brook?
I'd like to add, I just like to say, I think there's a lot of opportunities at Stony Brook for research. Most of the people who I know, and including myself, the way how I got involved was literally just emailing my PI and asking to be involved in her lab. I was really interested in the research that she was doing. I currently do research on bacteria. And I think because there's so many opportunities at Stony Brook, it kind of makes it a little bit easier for you to get involved because there's a large selection that you can choose from. There's like people doing marine biology, chemistry, generally biology, psychology, and there's just a whole host of things that you can possibly do. So it kind of makes it easier for you to get involved. And most PIs and professors are not very formal about joining their research lab. So typically you could just send them an email, and maybe they may invite you for an interview if they think that, you are a good fit for their lab. So I would definitely be encouraged that you probably will get an opportunity to do research sometime during your experience at Stony Brook.
I want to add on to that. I definitely agree that there are, we are a research institute, so you do have a lot of opportunities. And you can do research not only in STEM, but there's also humanities research as well. But I think a lot of issues that people have, including me, I had this, my first 2-3 years here, was that that there are opportunities out there, but you don't know how to find them. So the thing about research is that you have to go seek out opportunities in a sense. Nothing is really handed to you. It's not like a professor is going to be like, hey, come join my lab or things like that. You have to reach out to people to try to find an opportunity, or you kind of have to make an opportunity for yourself, being able to reach out to professors and things like that. Currently, I'm doing research on polycystic kidney disease over at the School of Medicine. And I'm really enjoying that, but I only started doing research this January, so I am kind of still new to it. Because it was hard for me to find opportunities at first, especially with COVID, things were a lot more limited. But you know what, you just have to keep putting your foot out there and not get discouraged because there are opportunities.
Thank you. So we have a question about health-related clubs or pre-health related clubs and organizations on campus. This is a really important question because, what you do when you're an undergrad, everything you're doing is really there to reinforce if that's the direction you still want to go, right? So joining a club with other students that have similar interests is really, can be really useful. Any takers on jumping off on this question?
I will do a little self-promotion real quick and say that I'm the secretary for Friends of MSF here at SVU. And although we don't advertise ourselves as a pre-med club, we really do like a lot of health related things. We do often do CPR training. We do suture training, which is always very popular with students, whether you're pre-med or pre-nursing and everything. And we also sometimes have doctors that have experience with working abroad in like different aspects come and talk to our members. And I think stuff like that is really helpful. And I know other clubs do that as well, like pre-med society. I think pre-PA club, there's a lot of them.
I'd also like to add, I'm currently the event coordinator for the American Medical Women's Association's chapter here at Stony Brook. And our club is basically, we have GBMs every week, and we invite doctors, medical students to speak to our members. And we have a lot of different workshops where you could learn about how to get involved in research, how to write your personal statement, MCAT studying tips. And in fact, when you're a member of AMWA, you do get discounts on MCAT prep and stuff like that. So definitely look out and join our club.
One club that I'm a part of, it's not like I guess healthcare exactly, but I'm a part of a research journal here on campus. It's called the Stony Brook Young Investigators Review. So basically, it's just a student-run research journal where you have students writing articles about recent, scientific innovations. And my role is actually as a graphic illustrator. So yeah, it's just like I guess one way I'm incorporating, my love for art and research together, because I really enjoy being able to still continue with passions that I have always had, and in like a scientific light as well. So I guess another point is to say that I know a lot of students who are looking into healthcare careers have so many interests, and they don't want to give anything up. And you know what, you don't have to. You definitely don't have to. Your whole entire world, not everything you do in the 4 years has to be pre-med. You can do things that you enjoy, that you're interested in, and you can always find a way to tie what you're passionate about into medicine, I think, somehow.
Excellent. We have a question about why you all specifically chose pre-med over, let's say, PA, PT, nursing, or all of the other healthcare professions, which I think is a great question. I'm always interested to know what our panelists' motivations are and where they kind of see themselves, especially now that you've advanced a bit as undergrads.
That is a great question. I feel like that's also, like you said, a question that a lot of pre-meds have trouble differentiating between medicine, MDDO, and PA, and like what those roles are and what the differences are. For me, I do want to go into my I want to become an MD or DO because I really want to like take care of all my patients in every aspect, not just basically like, how do I describe it? Like, I don't really want supervision. I want to be like the very top person that takes care of my patients and be an expert in the field. And as a PA or a nurse, you're not always that person. There are opportunities, like you can become a nurse manager on a floor where you do have more of that experience. And yeah, but for MDDO, I really like that independence where you're really taking care of the patient. See if I can add anything.
So I specifically chose MD because I grew up in a very small island, as I said before, and currently there's a shortage of physicians and in fact a surplus of nurses. So that's my specific motivation for wanting to pursue medical school.
The reason that I want to pursue MD over PA as well, actually, because I want to pursue an MD MPH. which is, of course, your MD alongside a master's in public health, which a lot of programs you can do that like at like the same time in 4 years. And that's again kind of going alongside. I'm a major in globalization studies and biology, so I want to keep building on that. And I don't know exactly what I want my future to look like, but when I think about becoming a doctor, I think about healthcare on kind of like a broader level and how we can um, incorporate, public health into improving our medicine, if that makes sense, kind of looking at healthcare on a bit of a broader lens. And I feel like as a PA, it's very patient and clinical. And of course, I want that as well. But because I kind of also want to take a different approach to what medicine means to me, that's why I'm pursuing an MD, because I feel like it gives me that bit of like freedom and I guess knowledge, if that makes sense.
So I just want the panelists to start thinking about, when you were in high school, thinking about going to college, what were some of the primary factors that influenced your decision to come to Stony Brook? Because regardless of your major or your, eventual career goals, you had to start, in that, junior, senior year, starting to think about college. Were there any things that kind of stand out for you?
We've already talked about different clubs and majors a lot, but definitely when I was researching where I wanted to go for undergrad, I really wanted to have those options of being able to switch my major to something interesting if I found something that was not biochemistry related, but was maybe similar. Also, we have so many classes here because we are a big university. There's so many different things that you can become interested in and take a class in. And that was also something very important to me. And also, like we discussed with clubs, there are so many organizations to get involved with here. And I definitely, over the course of the 4 years, have probably attended so many different meetings with different clubs just to see what they offer. Some things like I've learned or have been able to participate in that I never would have otherwise if I hadn't been able to go to one of those meetings for those clubs. I didn't have any of that in my high school. Like we were very limited with like what after school activities we had. So coming to Stony Brook, it was definitely nice to have those options that I could explore for sure.
I think for me, so my older cousin actually went to Stony Brook, and she was basically my advisor. And she told me all about the fact that there were a lot of different STEM opportunities, which I knew I was interested in doing STEM. And also the fact that Stony Brook was a Research One university, that was a major deciding factor for me because I knew I wanted to be involved in research, and I knew that coming to Stony Brook would give me that opportunity. And also the price, the affordability of a state school was something that was really important for me, deciding, and for my parents. So that was also a major factor.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't have like a super great answer to this question. As like a COVID senior, at one point, I don't know, college just went over my head. I didn't think about it that much in 11th grade too, but that's the reality. But I really do like Stony Brook. I really like coming here. The reasons that I chose Stony Brook were I was interested in the globalization programs, and I had heard so much about there being so many opportunities. And for me, one thing was that I didn't really want a dorm, so I could commute here too. It is also an affordable college because you also have to consider the fact that you're going to rack up a lot of debt in medical school. So you want to, try to think a little smart during undergrad too. And I like the fact that it was like a bigger campus because I didn't like the idea of being confined to on like city schools. To be honest, I wasn't really leaning towards that because I didn't like the idea of being confined. And I used to go to like philosophy conferences here at Stony Brook when I was like in high school. So I just kind of like the vibe of it, to be honest. I don't know, I just kind of like the school.
Excellent, thank you. We have a question. Let me just pull it up. So can someone kind of talk about campus lifetime and what that's like and why Stony Brook has it and what you use it for?
Campus lifetime is like a period on Wednesdays where you don't have classes scheduled. So it's intended for you. A lot of clubs have meetings at that time. It's just really like a time intended for you to be able to step away from like a lecture hall and be able to experience what else Stony Brook has. Personally, I use that time to go to the research lab over at the Stony Brook School of Medicine. Yeah.
I also use that time to participate in my research lab in the chemistry department.
To be honest, I don't ever really pay attention to campus lifetime. I just do whatever at that time. You know,
Yeah, there are often activities and events. I think a lot of first year students look forward to having, kind of a break in the middle of the week where they can, especially if you're new and you're just thinking about joining clubs and organizations, you can start to, participate in activities that are happening kind of centrally. So, and, sometimes there'll be, meetings and things like that take place then because it's harder when you're trying to schedule around classes. So that's kind of how it was designed. And has anyone, I mean, obviously, if you're representing a club or organization, you've been to the club fairs, but can someone talk about how those are designed and when they occur? So when students are coming into Stony Brook, they know like how they'll be able to kind of get introduced to clubs and organizations.
so I know we have Admitted Students Day coming up, and often, like many different organizations on campus, will have e-board members from those clubs tabling, I believe, in the union typically. And I previously have tabled my club, and often the students will ask us questions about research or how to get involved in different ways, like clinical experience. Also, the involvement fair, we had the involvement fair at the beginning of every semester, and it's pretty much the same thing where we have tables with all the clubs and you can ask them questions and they kind of advertise their upcoming events. And that's really a great way to figure out what clubs we actually have and also what they do.
Yeah, and also I wanted to add because I know everybody has like social media these days. So if you guys do have Instagram, typically if you follow like the Stony Brook page and Stony Brook engagement, they typically follow all of the clubs that are on campus. So you could literally just go to their following and you could see all of the clubs that are there, and they typically keep them up to date. And then you could kind of get some ideas of the clubs that you're interested early on, and then you could go to them at the involvement fair, or sometimes you could even see the application on their Instagram page.
Excellent. And so Stony Brook has the Stony Brook core curriculum, the SBC requirements. And since some of you have double majored, you've probably, completed those very rapidly, but does anyone want to kind of give a little insight into how the core curriculum kind of balances your major courses?
I'll go ahead. So for me, I think of my SBCs as my fun classes, honestly. Like I think of them as classes that I'm really excited to go to, and like not like chemistry is difficult. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. And going to those SBC classes are typically like, yes, you still have to do the work. Yes, you still have to study, but sometimes I feel like my brain just gets a little break from the chemistry, and I'm able to do something that's typically more engaging with like my creative side. So that's how I personally think of the SBC classes.
Okay, great. What is the hardest part of being pre-med? for each
Immediately,
individual?
immediately, I will say a lot of the classes are very challenging. A lot of students don't always pass them or just barely pass with a C. I will say that. Another hard thing is I think just the competitiveness. I know a lot of students are stressed out when they apply. They think they're not going to get into anywhere. So I will say like always like apply broadly when you do end up applying. And also, I think we've overall have discussed this, but really like join things that you're passionate about, not just because you think it looks good, because like to be pre-med, you do need those experiences. And I think sometimes people just tackle so many things just because they think, it looks good on their resume, but they have really no interest in it. So I think being able to balance that is also challenging for a lot of people.
Personally, my biggest challenge with being pre-med is like not beating myself up. Um, because it's just so easy to obsess over everything that you do wrong that you do forget to do and look at the things that you do right, especially, like Jessica said, pre-med can get competitive. And I don't know, like personally, like I always feel like I'm not doing enough, like and nothing I do is like, gonna be enough to get me into med school. But really you have to just push through those thoughts because everyone around you, even the people who get into med school feel like that. It's yeah, it's kind of just hard to keep pushing through and never giving up because one thing about getting into med school and going through med school is endurance and just being able to do it even though it is difficult. And of course that's going to follow you through undergrad all the way into when you complete your residency. Being a doctor is never going to be easy. It's not going to get any easier from here, but you just have to be able to just keep pushing through even when you don't maybe do as well in a class as you like. Maybe you don't have enough volunteer hours and things like that. You just have to always remember why you're doing this, why you choose to be pre-health, what you care about, and just kind of just keep pushing through.
So we are almost at the end of our presentation. Any last words of advice or wisdom that you want to share before we say goodbye to our lovely audience?
I guess I want to hammer home this idea that you will do well at activities, courses, majors, volunteering, etc. In those areas that you are best at, that you love. And so it's not a trick question. It's just, what do you actually really, really love? And you should do that because you'll be very good at it.
My biggest advice is to take your time. I think there's always a rush that you have to graduate within 4 years. And I know sometimes it's just not possible, whether it's like financial reasons or health related reasons. Definitely don't beat yourself up about stuff like that. And also like with like the MCAT, like I'm in my 4th year, I haven't taken it yet, and that's fine. I know a lot of people in the same situation. It's not always like, oh, you take it your junior year and that's it. Everyone's kind of on their own path when you think about it. It's very like a lot of variation. So definitely take your time. And if you like veer off the typical path, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway is just stay true to who you are. Don't give these medical schools like a falsified version of yourself just because you think that's what they want to see and because that's what you think is going to get you in. Med schools want people who, care about their communities, who are interested in science, research, and development. So if that's who you are, then you don't like fake anything. Don't do anything just for the sake of a med school. Stay true to who you are and what you're interested in. Follow your passions. I know that's like what everyone is telling you, and it doesn't feel that easy sometimes. But you gotta stick with what you love, and if it's right for you, then you'll end up where you need to be.
I guess the one thing that I'd say is that Stony Brook has so many opportunities and so many resources. And unfortunately, not everybody takes advantage of those resources. So the one thing I would say is take advantage of every resource that you're presented with and just every opportunity that you can. Like, you can never apply to too many things. Like apply to everything, go to all the office hours, go to all the study groups, and just take advantage of everything because you're paying for it. So that's all I had to say.
That is great. Yes, I totally agree. It's your experience. You make it what you need it to be. And on that, I want to thank Dr. Nagin and our lovely panel for all of their insights into this really exciting, but also kind of stressful topic, which we understand. But, you know, Stony Brook's here to help you. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. We wish you the best of luck with your admissions decisions and deciding where you'll go. We hope to see you at Admitted Student Days or on campus as a Seawolf in August. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everybody.